So one of the things I like to do with both brokers and clients is break down the way that workers' comp rates are calculated. One of the challenges in the industry especially for us, where our product is very unique and has some cost-saving advantages to it, we want to explain to the clients how workers' comp works. It seems to be a commoditized industry where at the end of the year, you give your loss runs to the broker sends them to the carrier, they run them through a formula, they compare you to the market averages and plus or minus some credits and stuff, and those are your rates. And so clients typically just want to know, well, what are my rates? And they don't have any idea of how we get there. So I'm going to go through a little example of how these rates are calculated, because I think it will help you both plan better and understand how to negotiate with your carriers and your brokers to get a better result. So I've written the formulas that I think you need to understand up on the board here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the ELR. So the ELR is expected loss rate, and that's something that the WCIRB publishes every year for every class code. So for class code 8292 as an example, the number that they put up here is a percentage of payroll, and it tells you what your budget can be for claims at the end of the first year in order to have a 100 mod. And it's also the base of the formula that we use to ultimately get to what your rates are. So between the end of the first year, what your rates are at the end of that first year, and your ultimate cost of your losses, it's called pure premium. And pure premium is the number, if you ever hear in the newspaper that the commissioner is going to adjust the rates, the WCRB made a suggestion to reduce or increase rates, and you're not sure what that rate is, that rate is called pure premium. And that is the WCRB's analysis of what the losses, the ultimate losses of that particular class code are. So it's an important number because they want to give that data to the insurance companies so that the insurance companies can base their rates off of it. So they take all the payroll and all the claims in a particular class code for the whole state, they divide them into each other, and they come up with a rate. So between the end of the first year and the ultimate cost, the formula, a piece of the formula in between there is called the loss development factor. So at the end of the year, if you have 4% of your payroll in losses, California has a loss development factors of say 2.5. So that means these losses are going to ultimately develop into your pure premium. So if this was 250% development, by the time they're many years when they're done paying on it, this pure premium rate would be 10. So they put this out there so the carriers can then base their rates. So the carriers take the pure premium, which is the cost of losses, they add or they multiply their costs onto the losses. So you have the losses plus the cost of doing business for the carrier. So that's TPA fees, that's taxes, that's commissions, expenses to run the company. So the losses times the cost, the loss cost multiplier, equals the filed rates. And so every carrier for a class code has rates that they post with the state, and those rates are the basis from where they start rating your individual plan. So the carrier will then take their filed rates on a particular class code. They'll use your X mod, so they'll do the filed rates times the X mod, plus or minus some credits. This is where your broker can come in handy in terms of negotiating, but this part's already set in stone. This part's more or less set in stone. So this is where the broker comes in and says, oh, they're doing a great job in safety or whatever, and can negotiate the rates up or down. And that's how they get to your rates. And so the reason why this is important, probably not a lot of people talk to you about it, but this is the very beginning. The expected loss rate is something that you as a company should know and have available and be looking at on a monthly basis to make sure that you're on pace with the industry averages or below the industry averages, so that you can have a positive effect on your X mod. So this, the ELR, the loss development, and the pure premium, that stuff is set in stone. That's all the industry information averaged into each other. Your carrier is going to decide on how much their expenses are, so that you have no control over. But you can look at what carriers do in terms of their cost, because everyone has a different one. Some of them are 1.8, some of them are 2.0, some of them are 1.5. Obviously, the lower the loss costs are, the lower the filed rates are. So the expected loss rate is the best way to plan on what your X mod is going to be. A lot of people wait till that X mod is being published, and they might have a little bit of an idea, but they basically don't know. If you know these numbers and you know what the budget is for the state, you're going to be able to get really close to this number, whether you have a broker help you or not. And then here's where your broker comes in. So if you want to know what can you as the client control, what can the carrier control, and what the broker can control, that's sort of the formula, and it gives you an idea of responsibility. So let's take an actual example. So we're going to look at class code 8292, which is a real common code in Southern California with a lot of our clients. It's a warehousing class code. So the expected loss rate published by the WCRB for this class code is 4%. So that's 4% of payroll. So on $1 million of payroll, you're going to be expected to only have $40,000 of claims at the end of your first year. So the carrier will take the losses. They'll give them a chance to kind of make sure they got all the losses in and so on. And about 6 months after the end of the policy year, they will send your losses to the WCRB. If those numbers are less than $40,000 on $1 million of payroll, there's a good chance your mod is going to be 100 or perhaps a little bit lower. There are some things that can affect that. If you have one $40,000 loss, depending on the size of your company, it could actually put you below that X mod of 100, even though your losses are 40. So there are a couple other factors that go into it, but 4% will give you a good budget. So 40,000. Now the interesting thing that I like to do with clients is show them in reverse what 40,000 losses means in terms of your actual premium, because this is usually a shocker for the clients. So the loss development and the pure premium are 250% loss development for a 10% pure premium. So the ultimate losses on this account, on average, for this class code are going to be 10% of payroll. So that means 40,000 over time will turn into 100,000. So that's sometimes when the carriers are not giving you the rates that you think you need. And because you see 40,000, they see 100,000 when they look at 40,000. So I'll use our carrier that Samuel Hale uses, State National, has an LCM, a loss cost multiplier of 1.6. Now that's not secret information. The LCMs are actually posted, and if you know how to research them, you can actually find them on Google or with the state. So on 10% pure premium, my carrier's filed rates are going to be 10% times 1.6 equals 16% of payroll. So now let's say the client has a 150 mod, not uncommon with the clients that we're dealing with. So 150 X mod times 16 will give you a rate of 24%. And then your broker would talk to them, the carrier, and try and convince them that you deserve a number lower than 24%. So let's say they negotiated a volume discount and a safety discount and whatever. And they were able to get 20% off those rates. So that would be minus 480, and that will give you 1920. So this client, for this 8292 class code at $1 million in payroll, is going to pay 19% or $190,000. That's what they're going to pay in premium. And the state's judging them if they only to only get $40,000 in claims. And the disparity between here and here can sometimes seem great because this client has already been penalized for prior years. So the reason why the difference is so great is the state's wanting them to sort of catch up to get back on line with the averages. So until they do, they're going to continue to charge them a surplus for their rates. So I think that kind of gives you an idea of how the rates are calculated. We do a lot of education with our clients about how Samuel Hale can affect things like this ELR and the loss development. We target an ELR internally for our clients of half of what the ELR is with the WCRB. So on this code, if it was a Samuel Hale client, we would target 2% as our first year loss rate and only 150% for loss development. And that's one of the things that makes us different, is we expect our ultimate losses to be 3% on a code where the industry thinks they should be 10%. And we'd love to come out and show you why we think that. So thanks for listening, and hope to see you out there.